Hello, everybody. Just getting set up here. Oh, Steven. Well, if you're here in the chat, say where you're playing from. I'm here from the University of Toronto St. George campus. Where is everybody? We get people from all over the place, so it's just sort of fun to see. Just a sec, just changing some things around on my screen, and we'll get started here soon. Ooh, we have Calgary, Mississauga. Newmarket, nice. Etobicoke, Kelowna, wow. Scarborough, Willowdale. Wow, good number of people. Well, if you're interested in playing, you can go on to kahoot.it, and when you get there, you can put the game pin, which has been so helpfully pinned to the discussion here, of 1334698. We'll get started here in a little bit. Let's see, I'm gonna check the game, see how many people we have signed up already. Yay! Wonderful, 24 people now. We'll get started in a few minutes so that more people can get signed up. Here in Toronto, we had a wonderful, warm, sunny day. Are we alone? Is everybody starting to feel spring? Yeah, it's been a lovely week. I really enjoy not I'm originally from California. I'm not used to the cold, so it's nice having some nice warmth. Let's see how many people. I try to keep an eye on it, and when things start dying down, I start the game. We're at 40, yay. And when you sign up, be sure to use your real email. We're not going to send you anything weird. We're just scientists. We're not trying to sell you anything other than the fact that science rocks. Alright, looks like we've hit about 40 and we're tapering off, so it's probably about time for us to start. But while we're working on that, I just wanted to give a little bit of background in, let's see, on why I chose this particular topic. Sure, scientists are weird. I mean, you're right, Jan. All right, so before we get started, welcome to everyone to Astronomy Trivia for this month. I'm your host, Leo Alcorn. I'm a postdoc here at University of Toronto, St. George campus. And today we are going to have astronomy trivia, focused on the history of astronomy, but this time, no European astronomical history. Why did I make this rule? Well, when I first started learning about the history of science in general when I was in high school, we began in ancient Greece, and then we skipped all the way to the European Enlightenment era, which is horrifically incorrect. Science did not stop during this time. In fact, science flourished, not just in Europe. In fact, science as we know it began outside of Europe. Science rather than natural philosophy is what I mean. And this is likely, the lack of this information is likely just a holdover of a white-dominated education system. Heck, when I took so-called world history in high school, it was just European history. But there was so much going on outside of Europe and all through the world. And science made major strides before the Enlightenment, which the scientific revolution built upon. So I wanted to highlight the contributions of astronomers, scientists, natural philosophers, students, and just regular folks to the field of astronomy who have been overlooked by many modern historical paradigms. And I encourage you, if any of these trivia questions spark interest, look further into these subjects. I've only been able to include 20 questions to cover the entire world of astronomical research through the ages. And there's so much more than what I've included in this trivia game. So do continue to study these experiments, people, discoveries, and books. I'll include some recommended sources at the end of the game as well, so be sure to stick around. But before we start, it's important that we acknowledge and express gratitude for the original caretakers of the land on which we are playing trivia. Indigenous Americans had complex and effective scientific systems of their own, which allowed them to survive and thrive. And these systems are becoming much more well known now thanks to the work of Indigenous scholars and scientists who want to share this traditional knowledge with all of us. So, knowing this, I wish to acknowledge this land on which the University of Toronto operates. For thousands of years, it has been the traditional land of the Huron-Wendat, the Seneca, and the Mississaugas of the Credit. Today, this meeting place is still home to many Indigenous people from all across Turtle Island, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to work on this land. If you are located outside of Toronto and on any land originally cared for by Indigenous peoples, I encourage you to learn more about the folks on whose land you are on and their scientific systems and innovations. A great resource is Native Land or native-land.ca, or whatever your local version of this is on whatever local version of the site you have. Additionally, while I am talking about astronomy history, not all of these are necessarily historical. Some of these are still living systems, in particular the Indigenous systems that we're going to be not as, the thing about Indigenous astronomy is that we could have a whole nother trivia just focused on Indigenous astronomy. But I also wanted to include places like the Middle East, China, India, Africa, the Polynesians. So forgive me if I've left out major parts of astronomical history, because there's a lot out there, and I encourage you to look more into it yourself as well. So with that, let's get started. Let's actually get started on this game. All right, so here we are. I'm calling this the real history of astronomy. So, let's go over the rules. Anyone can play, but we can only send prizes to Canadian addresses outside of Quebec. Sorry if you're in Quebec, there's just some weird shipping rules that I'm not entirely familiar with. But even if you can't receive prizes, please do take part in this particular game. Just think of the pride of winning. People with graduate degrees in astronomy or equivalent expertise are not eligible to win prizes. Sorry, but I would also be perhaps playing a little bit too much if I was allowed to win prizes. I've thought about putting together a graduate version of this for people with degrees in astronomy, but I would make it a lot harder. But that could be fun, right? So if you're interested, maybe you should say something, because it would be kind of fun to put that together. If you're under 18, make sure you have your parents' permission to play. And on that subject, keep the chat respectful and family-friendly. We want everybody to have fun at this. And if you want a prize, you must use your real email address when you sign up on Kahoot. We promise we won't use it for any reason other than to contact winners. As was said, we scientists are weird, but we're not trying to sell you anything. So, with the rules in mind, let's go over the prizes. So, I am very excited about these prizes and super jealous that you all get the chance to win these. So, the first prize winner does not necessarily have to take prize 1. They can pick whichever of these prizes you want first. So, prize 1 is an antique Arabic astrolabe. So, that's amazing. So, if you're interested in particular, the Islamic Golden Age, which is sort of my area of particular interest in astronomical history, it might be kind of fun to have this. I might have to get one myself after this. Prize 2 is a $40 gift certificate to Baca Phoenix, which, if you're located near University of Toronto, is actually located very close to campus. It's a science fiction and fantasy bookstore, local bookstore. I recommend everybody support them. And prize 3 is Dunlap Institute swag, which includes a t-shirt, a squishy star, and a mug. I have said this every time I host Astro Trivia. That mug is some sort of amazing invention of thermodynamics. I have left tea and forgotten about it for literally 2 hours, and it was still hot. It's amazing. So all of these prizes are great, and hopefully you put in your real email so that we can contact you. Note that if you are not the first, second, or third prize winner, you still might have a chance to win. So, to win some of these prizes, because if, say, the first prize winner is unable to receive one of these prizes, we'll just keep moving down. So don't give up. So with all of that, let's start on the questions. Quiz question. The common names of bright stars are derived from which Latinized language? Is it Greek, Farsi, Coptic, or Arabic? Note that all of the constellations are named in Latinized Greek, but are the stars the same? Remember, the faster you put in your answer, the more points you get. And the answer is Arabic! Yeah, so like if you look at the names of stars like Aldebaran, Algol, Al always is sort of associated with the Arabic language. I've become such a weirdo about this particular subject. I've actually been encouraged by a friend to learn Arabic at some point, so hopefully I'll be able to understand a bit more nuance about these stars. So, next question. Oh, first, let's see the leaderboard. Rockstar Sphinx, great job, followed by Great Falcon, followed by Radiant Egret. Closely followed by Kind Ferret and Arctic Possum. Close race right now. So, next up. In 1054, a guest star was recorded by Chinese astronomers. Which Messier object is the remnant of this event? And here I put a picture of the actual document with the areas highlighted that pointed out this guest star. Basically pretty much saying, wow, a star showed up for a month and we could even see it during the day. But which Messier object is in this same location and is a remnant of this? Well done, folks. Messier 1, the Crab Nebula. Also sort of makes sense because the Crab Nebula is the only supernova remnant that is included in the Messier catalog. So the guest stars could be anything from comets to supernova, and these records done by Chinese astronomers have actually been super useful for finding supernova remnants. So yeah, if you want a history of supernova in the galaxy, look no further than Chinese records. So let's see. Has the close race gotten any closer or further apart? Ooh, Rockstar Phoenix kicked off. Radiant Egret has not changed, but everybody else has completely bumped up. Well done, everybody. So, next question. What is the Polynesian navigation system that relies on observing stars, ocean currents, and bird behavior? Considering that Polynesian folks were very, very into navigation on the open seas, they really needed a very well done scientific system that they could rely upon. So what was this called? Fun fact, this was used in the movie Moana, which is how I learned about it, and how many other people have learned about it. Wayfinding. I see you guys watched Moana. Well done. So, let's see. Great Falcon still close to the lead, but usurped by Arctic Possum, followed by Kind Ferret, Eager Owl, and Great Bee. Ooh. 15 players have had a 3-answer streak. Well done, guys. Y'all know your history. Next question. Chichen Itza was an astronomical observatory built by which Mesoamerican civilization? And here is a nice picture of Chichen Itza. I've never had the chance to visit, but I would love to. So was it built by the Olmecs, the Toltecs, the Mayans, or the Aztecs? All great civilizations from Central America. 10 more seconds. Oh, everybody's gone in. Yay, it's the Mayans! The Mayans were super obsessed with astronomy. And actually, if y'all remember the weirdness that surrounded 2012, I remember I was in college then, and the calendar had finally ended, but the Mayans had calculated all sorts of astronomical events, especially eclipses, for hundreds of years past the time that they existed as a civilization. So, well done, everybody. Very interesting how they did their math, actually. I'd love to learn that. So, Arctic Possum, still in the lead, followed by Eager Owl. Great Falcon, still in the top 3, followed by Great Bee and Dazzled Cat. Well done, folks. I'm glad to see so many people know their history. So, next question. Wasagechak is a Cree trickster and is called Orion by settler peoples. His stories can only be told in which season? The season that he is up. So, spring, summer, autumn, or winter. And here is a nice picture of our trickster. Yay, winter, which is when Orion is up at night. So then he can hear these stories about him and maybe defend himself when people say things about the trickster. But tricksters are civilizing forces. They teach us. Like scientists, tricksters try things and they fail. So, I don't know. Wasagechak seems like a good scientific role model in a way, even if tricksters tend to mess things up sometimes. So, let's see who's in the lead. Eager Owl, well done. Great Falcon, still partially in the lead. Eager Owl followed by Great Bee in second. Dazzled Cat in fourth. And Caring Crane in fifth. Getting a lot of streaks from people. I like seeing that. So, next up. Which 15th century text by the Indian mathematician Aryabhata included an accurate explanation of eclipses? So here's a nice picture, artistic description that I found of him. Basically, like, he was the one who figured out, oh yeah, so the moon is like way closer to the Earth, and solar eclipse happens when the moon passes between the Earth and the sun, and a lunar eclipse happens when the moon passes through the shadow of the Earth. Aryabhata. Well done, folks. Of course, it's the one with his name in it. All right, so 5th century is when they figured that out. Man, it was funny doing research for this. Like, everything's been figured out way earlier than I was told. So, let's see who is in the lead. Is it still Eager Owl? Ooh, Eager Owl has been bumped down, with Great Bee in the lead, followed by Great Falcon, followed by Dazzled Cat, Arctic Possum, and then Eager Owl. Ooh, Friendly Sloth, well done. Must have really known this one. Alright, so we are 6 questions in. Next question. Which asterism, critical to Haudenosaunee agricultural cycles, was said to consist of a group of dancing children? Here's another artistic depiction I found. So this particular story is said to actually take place at Lake Ontario, which is where we're located. The Haudenosaunee are also known as the Iroquois, but they're also one of the groups that is local to Ontario. So good thing to learn about them. Yay! Most of you got that right. It is the Pleiades. So this story I kind of enjoyed because it was about a group of 7 children who were doing secret dances away from their parents. They wanted to have a feast one night. Their leader ordered them all to get an ingredient from their parents. Their parents all said no. They're doing the parent thing of, oh, we have food at home. Why do you need to bring food to hang out with your friends? So they all got mad, decided to go on strike from their parents and not listen to them, and they danced and danced and danced until they got light, rose up into the sky, and formed the Pleiades. So when you see Pleiades, which you can, I believe, once, well, maybe if the clouds go away, when the Pleiades is twinkling, it's said to be the boys dancing. So think of that instead of the 7 sisters if you're located in Toronto or Ontario. Next up, let's see who is in the lead. Great Bee still up there, and Great Falcon. Arctic Possum in 3rd place, Eager Owl in 4th, and Flying Hawk in 5th. So I'm just going to check. There we go. Fantastic. All right, so next question. I have a hard one coming up soon. I wonder if this is the one. Oh, no, this one isn't all that hard if you're a bit of a Middle Eastern history nerd. Which 10th century Persian astronomer Abd al-Rahman al-Sufi made the earliest recorded observation of which galaxy? The Large Magellanic Cloud, the Andromeda Galaxy, the Milky Way, or the Whirlpool Galaxy? I think al-Sufi was also called Avicenna when in Latinized. I don't know why they can't just call him al-Sufi. And this isn't the only thing he did. He was one of those people who did a lot of astronomy things. Yay, the Andromeda Galaxy! I guess the picture I showed here maybe was a little bit of a hint, since it's a chart of the Andromeda constellation. So let's see if our leaderboard is the same. Ooh, you folks knew that. Well done. Great Bee's still in the lead. Next up, the works of Ibn al-Haytham. Which of these works of Ibn al-Haytham is considered the first book to emphasize experimental methodologies in science? So this book is actually said to be sort of the first reference to the scientific method as we know it. Was it the Book of Optics, On the Light of the Moon, Doubts Concerning Ptolemy, and the Model of the Motions of Each of the 7 Planets? Yeah, it was the Book of Optics, guys. Y'all know your science history. So part of the reason why I want to learn Arabic is so that I can read the Book of Optics without maybe having to get a translation. But basically, what he did was he actually told you to repeat these experiments, prove it yourself. He himself said in his writings, you should make yourself an enemy of all that you read. You should doubt what you read. You should experiment with it. So some people debate this, whether this is sort of the first work to really say, scientific method, test, experiment, doesn't really matter, your thought experiments, you have to experiment. You can't just use logic to figure things out, you have to experiment. Also, I really want to read Doubts Concerning Ptolemy, because I admire a guy who would argue with Ptolemy, because he was taken as sort of like the word of truth by many, just because he was a guy in the past who understood a lot of things, but he was wrong about a lot of things. And I forget exactly what Al-Haytham was trying to disprove regarding him, but I appreciate anyone who is not victim to the appeal to authority. So Ibn al-Haytham is kind of a scientific hero of mine. Anyway, I'll stop fangirling. All right, so who's in charge? Great B. Wow, y'all know all this. I should have made these harder. Well done, everybody. Next up, Aboriginal Australian astronomy includes a constellation called the Dark Emu. What is this constellation formed from? Supernova remnants in our solar neighborhood, the dust in the plane of the Milky Way, the combined light of the Milky Way plane, or dwarf galaxies orbiting the Milky Way. You can see two dwarf galaxies with the naked eye and dark spots in the southern hemisphere. And Australian Indigenous folks were were one of those groups that was super into astronomy as well. So let's see, did y'all get this right? Ooh, I might have made it a little obvious with the picture, but this is the Dark Emu, and basically it's made up of dust in the plane of the Milky Way. So that's just sort of a fun example of how, like, in astronomy, to characterize these things, it's fun to study the non-European modalities, because they come up with new ways of characterizing things in the sky, and I think that is fascinating. So they actually were able to map out the dust in the plane of the Milky Way. That's awesome. So yeah. Anyway, let's see how the leaderboard looks. Again, y'all are extremely impressive. Great Bee, well done. Great Falcon, well done. Arctic Possum, Eager Owl, Flying Hawk, great job, everybody. I'm excited to see everybody is as weirdly obsessive over this history as me, because I'm just really disappointed that I didn't learn much about this until I went and looked for it myself later in life. This should, because in particular, people in the Enlightenment were building on all of this previous work. All right, so let's get to the next question. One of my hard ones should be coming soon. Oh, here we go. Here's a hard one. Which Tang Dynasty star atlas was recovered on the edge of the Gobi Desert and used for Silk Road navigation? And here's an image from that particular star atlas that I was able to find online. So this star atlas wasn't actually recovered until the early 20th century. It was found in this room in the Gobi Desert with a bunch of other interesting historical artifacts. But this one was dated to the Tang Dynasty in particular. Dunhuang star map. Ooh, you guys, I'm excited to see that most of you got this right. So yeah, particularly when you're dealing with something like the Silk Road navigation, people all over the world are going to have fantastic maps of the stars, just because it's necessary in order to make trade work, particularly the Silk Road. So, how is our leaderboard? Ooh, some change. This is fun. Great Falcon flew on ahead, followed by Great Bee, Arctic Possum, Flying Hawk, and Lovely Possum. That is Lovely Possum. Oh, I see I'm getting in on the dad jokes now. It's not just Steven. All right, next up. Keewatin is the Cree name for the star settlers call Polaris. What does Keewatin translate to in English? The going home star, the dog star, the winter star, or the bright star? I also liked the story of this, but I can't tell you this until later. And I've just included how confusing the winter sky can be sometimes. Yes, it is the going home star. All right, so I was looking this up, and I saw that it's called the going home star because if you kept it at your right shoulder, that meant that you were traveling west, you could find your way home. So it's the going home star. Clearly Polaris is incredibly useful for anybody in the northern hemisphere who wants to travel. So yeah, people would keep track of that and make it well known that you want to navigate by the star. It does not move. So, how is everybody doing? Ooh, little change still. Great Falcon, well done. Great Bee, you are both great. Arctic Possum and Lovely Possum, I see the possums are meeting up in the middle there, followed by Eager L. Well done, everybody. I love these screen names that they assign to people. It's just so cute. All right, so we're over halfway done. We're on question. We just finished up question 12. So hopefully these get a little harder for everybody. Next up. The Yuan Dynasty astronomer Guo Shoujing calculated the length of the year to be exactly 365 days. And I put a little picture of him there that I found online, a little bust that was done of him. Is this true, or is this false? He also discovered a number of other things, so this is not the only thing. Ooh, half and half. All right, the answer is false. So, a little bit of a trick question, but the length of the year is not 365 days. It's actually like 365.24 something, and Guo Shoujing figured that out. He figured out the fractional difference. So the length of the year wasn't exactly 365 days. He included this extra little bit, which is sort of why we have a leap year in the calendar we use today. So he was a pretty amazing mathematician and astronomer to figure this out so precisely. He got it right on the money. So let's see. This seemed like a confusing one, so I'm excited to see whether the leaderboard has changed. Let's check it out. Ooh, leaderboard has not changed. You history nerds, I love it. I feel like if I didn't go into astronomy, I should have gone into history. Because, like, the most interesting parts of history I found are not the parts that I learned in school. Although I did learn a lot of very interesting things when I took Japanese history in college. So anyway, I remember my first experience studying history outside of the classroom setting was in high school, and I read a book called Lies My Teacher Told Me. And that's when I learned that the first non-indigenous settlers of North America were not European, they were African. They were slaves dropped off by a Spanish ship who integrated with the indigenous folks. So, fun stuff. Anyway, next, let's check out our next question. Which city in 14th century Mali hosted one of the world's oldest universities, a major center of astronomical research? Niani, Gao, Timbuktu, or Alata? And I've included a picture of this university. Note that if you attended the Astro Tours lecture by Mubdi Rahman, he actually went over this. I actually used his talk, Rediscovering Our Astronomical Heritage, for a few of these questions. Yay, Timbuktu! I hope that y'all checked out that talk by for Astro Tours. So I actually didn't know very much about Timbuktu until I listened to that talk. Because as somebody in the States, like, you hear, oh, Timbuktu, that's so far away, and there's like some racist, weird, white supremacist stuff associated with that. But Mubdi's talk actually sort of, I didn't know that there was such a major research university there. But Mali was an incredibly well-funded state at the time, so I mean, it makes sense that they would have such a major university. People would travel from all over the Islamic world at the time in order to learn at Timbuktu. Mali was also the home of the richest guy, debatedly, to ever exist, Mansa Musa. And I don't know why Mali isn't more heavily covered in our history classes, because it seems to have had a pretty major effect on the world, trade in particular. If you're in particular interested in Mali and Mansa Musa in particular, I found a very fun episode of Epic Rap Battles of History on YouTube, which was Mansa Musa versus Jeff Bezos. I laughed way too many times, and the puns in it were sort of this chat level of great. So if you like I recommend Epic Rap Battles of History to a lot of people who are interested in history, and I've showed all of my friends all of them. Yes, anyway, not related to astronomy. Let's take a look at our leaderboard now. Great Falcon dipping down a little. Great Bee shooting up to number 1, followed by Arctic Possums. Ooh, I see the possums are separated now. Unfortunate. But Great Falcon underneath Arctic Possum, followed by Lovely Possum, and then Eager Owl. Well done, everybody. So, we are getting close to the end. That was our 15th question, I believe. 14th, 15th. Next up. 17. 15th, yeah, because the first two slides. So, 5th century mathematician/astronomer Brahmagupta was the first to record rules for calculating which numbers. So, this this has multiple answers. You can give one or both. Is it pi, 0, negative numbers, or decimals? And here's a picture of Brahmagupta I found. That was an artistic depiction. Ooh, the answer. Well, it's both zeros and negatives. So, like, 0 had been thought of, like, long before Brahmagupta. But he was the first to actually write down how to use it for actual calculations. It had been used previously by the Babylonians and possibly, I think, I forget which Mesoamerican civilization. They had been using 0 as a placeholder, but not really for calculation. Great thing to have finally written down. Very important for the history of astronomy, mathematics, physics, all of the sciences. And Brahmagupta did more things. I could only fit so much in the prompts and in this entire trivia quiz. I've left out a lot of astronomical history, but there's only so much you can fit in 20 questions. All right, next up. Great Arctic possum, yay! All the way up to number 1, followed by great bee, great falcon, lovely possum, and eager owl. Ooh, tough round. All right, so we have 5 more questions. Get your thinking caps on. Who is the biggest nerd? Quiz. The first spherical astrolabe used to display the locations of stars at specific times was created in which region? China, India, Greece, or Iraq? And here's a picture of a later spherical astrolabe. I tried to include a picture of some of the first few astrolabes we've recovered, but it would have given away the answer. Ooh, tough round. So the answer was actually China. China had an enormous amount of like super sophisticated astronomical equipment. Ooh, I did a hard one. Yay. So yeah, they were invented in China. And all these astrolabes now are really just building on this design. And first of all, this is a spherical astrolabe. So it actually looks like this. It's not like the astrolabes that the winner can choose to receive. So this is actually like a star globe that is used for showing which stars can be visible at a certain time. So very important for astronomical researchers in China. Oh, no changes! Yeah, this was a tough round. 5 players lost their answer streak of 15. Ooh, I'm devious. Alright, next up. Maharaja Jai Singh II built the Jantar Mantar Observatory, which houses the world's largest sundial, pictured here. When was it built? So yeah, look at that big old sundial. I would love to visit that. Like, what a scale. And it was refurbished more recently as well. Ooh, 18th century, another tough round. Yeah, so this was actually, so in specific, it was not just built in the 18th century, it was recorded as being built in 1724 in particular. It's just one of those things I would love to see. I love big anything. After spending 6 years doing graduate school in Texas, I like when everything's bigger. Alright, so, another tough round. Did this knock any of our leaders off their course? Ooh, only a little bit of a change. Great bee, well done. Ooh, the possums are together again. Arctic possum, lovely possum. You are both lovely and cold. Well, maybe not cold since it's getting to be spring. Followed by great falcon and eager owl. Flying a little bit lower on the leaderboard. That's okay. All right. I'm going to check the chat real quick before we continue. Fantastic, everybody. All right, next up. Sorry, I can't check the chat too regularly while I'm giving this. All right, so next up. People indigenous to the Great Plains of North America built which structures to measure astronomical events? And they're still being built. Were they platform mounts, medicine wheels, pyramids, or earth lodges? And this is not a picture of one of these structures. It's another type of structure that was built by Plains indigenous folks. And this is sort of like all the tribes in the Great Plains. This wasn't any particular tribe. Yay! It was medicine wheels. So yeah, medicine wheels. You can actually still see them in a lot of places. In particular, the Great Plains of the States and Canada. Very beautiful structures made out of rocks. They're aligned with specific astronomical phenomena at different times of the year. So fun stuff. Next up. Any changes? Ooh, silver wildcat. That's wild. But apart from that, no change. Possums are still together. And wonderful. So we only have 2 questions left. We're getting to the end of the hour. Let's see who the biggest nerd is. Is it Great Bee, the possums, Great Falcon, Silver Wildcat, or Eager Owl, who just left our scoreboard, but that is okay. Multi-selection. Which ancient African stone circles are believed to have been used for astronomical observations? So this isn't just one answer, but here's a picture of one of these places. So this is actually one of the things. I was lucky enough when I was in middle school to have a history teacher who was actually interested in teaching actual world history. So I actually got to learn about this particular stone circle when I was in middle school. So I hope that people get this right. Yay! Okay, so the only one that isn't believed to have been used for astronomical observations are the Great Stone Circles of Senegambia. Those are burial mounds. But the rest of them, the Nabda Playa, the Great Zimbabwe Ruins, and Adam's Calendar, were all considered to have been used for astronomical observations. Shown here is the Great Zimbabwe Ruins. So they're believed to be older than Stonehenge as well. Also, like people like racist explorers way back when this was discovered went, oh, Africans couldn't have built this. It must have been some secret race of white people that lived in Africa. White explorers were some of the stupidest people. Anyway, so I just thought that was fascinating. When I was actually looking for information on the Great Zimbabwe Ruins, I actually learned about a number of these other stone circles. So Africa seems to be chock full of astronomical observatories. The Great Zimbabwe Ruins were also believed to have been used in governmental and ceremonial purposes. But some of the alignments make people who study these ruins believe that it was used for astronomical purposes. So next up. No changes in our scoreboard. I see we have some major history nerds. Last question. The Cairo calendar controversially hints that 12th century BC Egyptians were measuring the variability of which star? And this is the actual document that people believe is referring to this. Was this Mizar and Alcor, Antares, Algol, or Cygnus X1? And this is because they were noticing that in Egyptian astrology, using this particular star, they noticed that certain things would change given the variability of this star. Ooh, who got it? Ooh, tough one! Okay, so the answer was Algol. Algol is a star in Perseus, and it wasn't known to be a binary star system until, I forget exactly which year European astronomers found this out, but the Egyptians in their astrological, but I mean, astronomy and astrology used to be the same science up until the Islamic Golden Age, when they started separating astronomy from astrology, which was then seen to be fortune-telling. Well, I mean, not always, but there were some fun things that some, I forget exactly which scientists in the Islamic Golden Age were writing about, said, oh, this isn't science, this astrology stuff, this isn't science. But they noted that astronomy was quite different. Yes, so they noticed that their prescriptions were actually sort of aligned with the actual period of the eclipsing of Algol. So that's kind of fascinating. However, this is still controversial. This isn't entirely proven. This came out, I remember, in graduate school, and we all talked about it. But the Egyptians were also obsessed. So many of these people were obsessed with astronomy because, like, first of all, necessary for navigation. Second of all, at night when you don't have like lights, what else are you gonna look at? You're gonna stare at the stars. You're gonna know exactly where everything is. When there's a little change in the sky, you're gonna notice. So, yeah, I find people really tend to underestimate our ancient ancestors and indigenous people when they really had every circumstance that would have made them fantastic astronomers and scientists. So yes, anyway, that was the last of the questions we had. So let's take a look at our leaderboards. Here's our podium. Our third place winner is Arctic Possum. Our second place winner is Lovely Possum, and our first place winner, drum roll, Great Bee. Great Bee is great. Our runners up, I missed that real quickly, but thank you everybody for playing. I hope that you all found this very interesting. So I'm going to give my little outro here before we end the game. Let's see. So, if you had fun at this event, please feel free to check out the other videos on our YouTube channel and subscribe. We have Cosmos from Your Couch, which is short video interviews with astronomers about their favorite astronomical subjects. We have short documentaries, including one about folks building instruments for the next generation of ground-based observatories in the basement of the building that I'm in right now. And check out other work of the Dunlap Institute in the Department of Astronomy. In fact, some of the trivia questions that I gave here were inspired by a lecture by Mubdi Rahman for Astro Tours, which is an event held by the graduate students in the Astro department here at U of T. If you're interested in the Islamic Golden Age in particular, I encourage you to check out his talk, which is titled Rediscovering Our Scientific Heritage. If you're interested in Indigenous American and Canadian astronomy, I encourage you to look into the work of Wilfred Buck, who's gathering information on these systems from Lakota, Cree, and Ojibwe people, and whose work also inspired several of the questions in this game. That's why I focus so much on the Cree, because Wilfred is Cree himself. Let's see, I also used Astrodigenous, which is maintained by the Discover the Universe folks and University of Toronto. So thank you all for coming, and I hope you had a fantastic time. I'm glad that people learned so much. Let's see, thank you so much for coming, and please come to the next Astro Tours. Hope you had a great time, and have a good night. Enjoy the rest of your day. Look for the dancing boys tonight if you have clear skies.